Lesson 5.1, percent increase and decrease. From page 4, we'll look at numbers 27 and 28. If we're given an original amount and the percent change, let's find the new amount. So our original amount for number 27 is 12,000 miles, and we have a percent change of 5% increase. Okay, so I'm going to teach you two ways to think about this. So way number one is take your original amount, which is 100%, right? 100% is the full amount. So the full amount would be 12,000, okay? I have the full amount, which is 100%, and I am adding 5% to that, right? I am increasing the amount by 5%. And so what's 100% plus 5 more percent? Well, of course, that would be 105%. Okay, so I have 105% of the original amount. If the original amount is this, and I have 105% of that, I need to take 105%, which in decimal form, this would be 1.05, right? I would move the decimal 2 places to the right, or you could say divide by 100. So 105% is 1.05 in decimal form, and I have 105% of the original amount. So 105% of, or times, 12,000. And if you put this in your calculator, 1.05 times 12,000 will give you 12,600. Okay, that would be 105% of this. So you start with your full amount, 100, and you increase it by 5%, which means you're taking 105% of the original amount, and 1.05, which is 105% in decimal form, times your original amount gives you your new amount of 12,600, and our unit is in miles. Okay, the second way I'll teach you to think about it, way number two, you could think about this. Way number two, you could say I have 100%. I'm starting with my original amount, which is 12,000, right? That's my original amount, 12,000, and I'm increasing it by 5%. And this percent change is a percentage of the original amount. So I have 5%, or in decimal form it's 0.05, 5% of, or times, the original amount of 12,000. 5% of 12,000. What is 5% of 12,000? If you put this in your calculator, 0.05 times 12,000, you will get 600. Okay, so if you're starting with your original amount of 12,000 and you're increasing it, or adding 5%, which in this case is 600 miles, then 12,000 miles plus 600 miles, which was the 5% increase, would give you 12,600 miles, which is what we got when we thought about it the first way. Number 28, let's look at a percent change with a decrease in it. Okay, so we're starting with the original amount of 710 points in this case, and our percent change is a 10% decrease. Okay, so the first way that we can think about this is, let's start with 100%, which is the full amount. What is the full amount in this case? 710 points. So we're starting with that, and then our percent change is a 10% decrease. And if we are decreasing 10%, I would start with the full amount, 100%, and decrease, or take away, 10%. And what is 100% minus 10%? Well, that is 90%. Okay? So I have 90% of the original amount. So I need to write this percent as a decimal, which would be dividing by 100. Or I could say moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So 90% as a decimal is 0.90. So I have 90% of, or times, 90% of the original, which was 710 points. So what's 90% of 710? Once you put this into your calculator, you will get 639. All right, so that's our new amount. We started with this, started with 710. We decreased it by 10%, so we took 10% off. So now we're looking at 90% of the original, which is 639, and in this case it is points, 639 points. 639 would be 90% of 710. The second way we can think about this, the second way, we'll call this way Number 2, we can start with our 100%, which is the full amount. In this case, that's 710. Start with the full amount. And if I am decreasing this number, that means I'm taking away 10%. I'm taking away 10% of the original. What is 10% of the original? Well, to find that, I would take 10% and write it as a decimal, which is 0.10. 10% of the original, or 10% times the original, which is 710, right? 710, that's our original. What is 0.10 times 710? That would be 71. All right, so you're starting with your original and you're taking away 10%, and 710 minus 71 is 639 points. That is our new amount.